Hi, welcome if this is your first time tuning in, or welcome back if you're a returning viewer. I am Nikki, so I'm here with another video for you today. I want to talk to you about applying for PR using the Provincial Nomination Program through the non-express entry process. At present, applications are processed within 14 months. The application processing fee for one single applicant is $1,365. So many people want to immigrate to Canada, but they look at the express entry process. But there are other persons, for whatever reasons, do not want to go through the express entry process. So they use the non-express entry option for provincial nomination and for other applications that qualify you to apply for permanent residence. Let's get into the video. We are on the IRCC's Permanent Residence Portal, and I just want to go through and show you the various things that you can do on this portal. And I will be sure to leave the link in the description box so you can do your application for permanent residence. After you have gotten a nomination from a province, you get your nomination certificate and you go to the permanent residence portal and you submit your application. You can also confirm your permanent residence status, as well as to send your photo for your permanent residence card. This is after getting your electronic confirmation of permanent residence. So you go into the portal, or that email, sorry. You go into the portal to confirm your permanent residence status and to submit your photographs for your PR card. And this is also indicating that if you're already a permanent resident, you can apply for your permanent resident card or apply for a permanent resident travel document if you're outside of Canada. And you should only create an account if you're starting a new permanent residence application or applying to get a PR card or a permanent resident travel document, that's PRTD. So you simply need to go in and sign in to your account after you created the account. So you input your email address and a password if you're signing in, or you click create account. So I already have an account and I will sign into this account at this time. So you're now in the PR portal. You have the option to continue, in my case, continue my permanent resident application because I started one the other day just for the purpose of this video. You can confirm your permanent residence and you can apply for your permanent residence card in this option. So as you see here, start a new application or view your applications. So since I already have an account, I will view my application and let's get into this. So it says that the application status is in progress and I will go to view. You have various application forms that you have to complete, and you also can upload additional documents, supporting documents. So whatever you click on, it brings you to that part and tells you that if that particular application, in this case IMM 0008, is ready to be submitted, because I pre-populated some fictitious information here. And you can select and go on to the different applications, and the status says in progress for this one, and IMM 5562, it has not started yet. So once you started an application, you can always return to that application and edit. If you haven't started an application, like in the case of this one, you can go to start. So the PDF forms, there are some forms. If you look on this section, it says that you must download, complete, digitally sign, and upload all the forms that you need for your application. Do not print and scan any of these forms. And you need to refer to the program guide for any exceptions in cases that you can print and scan the forms and then upload them. So let's go back to the top. Well, you can add your supporting documents as well as to pay your fee and do your declaration before you submit your application. So let's get to the top. So the tabs on the left coincide with the various sections on the right. As I said, wherever you click on the form, it will take you there, just like a shortcut to get to a particular section so that you don't have to scroll down. So you will indicate once you start your application what it is that you are applying for. And in the case of the PNP application, it's under the economic category, and you select that, and that's for provincial nominee, as I said before. And this basically takes you through what you need to do. So once you complete all the forms, and I would suggest that you do it in stages, you complete all the forms and then you go to the different sections. So the other forms above are basically forms that are in the application. You don't have to download anything, but there are these ones that you have to download. And this is Schedule 4 economic class for provincial nominees. So if you're a provincial nomination applicant, you will have to complete this form. And this is a document checklist for the Provincial Nominee Program and for Quebec workers. Whatever information you put in, there's a document checklist that you need to ensure that you complete. So additional application forms. These forms or documents may or may not be required for your program. Please check the document checklist, the one above, and the program guide for the forms that you need or which documents you need for your application. And any document that you select, any application you need, you will see them here. And in this case, you would potentially need the use of representative form. And I believe I double checked something about the provincial nomination application form, but take that with a grain of salt and just ensure that you use the guide as it suggests here and the document checklist. So whatever documents or forms you need to complete, that you complete them. So the supporting documentation for the PNP program, and all the documents that you're uploading, they recommend how you should label your documents. So please use the following naming convention when labeling your documents. So your last name with a dash, your first name, another dash, the document type, dash, and the number. So the example is Wong dash John dash proof of education dash the number 1. So if you have two different proof of educations, in the case where you have a bachelor's and a master's degree, you will title one of your proof of education as 1 and the other as 2. And it gives you descriptions of the accepted formats, and that the photos, the back of one photo must contain the following: that is the date the photo was taken, the name, date of birth, as well as the full address of the photo studio, and the photographer may use a stamp or handwrite this information. In my case, when I did the express entry, when we went to the photo studio, they did stamp it with all this information, but for the express entry, there was nothing that stated that you needed to upload the back of the photo, so we didn't, and our applications were approved. But in the case where this one tells you that you need to, just be sure to do that. So your travel document, you would upload it here. Confirmation of your nomination, that's your nomination certificate. Proof of language proficiency, your police certificates and clearances, your photos, and birth certificates. So additional supporting documents that you want to include in your application, you would search for the document so you can have your children's information, any letter of explanation, document checklist, proof of intent to reside out of Quebec if applicable, proof of physical presence, certificate, death certificate if that applies to you, marriage certificate, national identity card, proof of education, proof of funds, proof of your previous work experience, that's the work experience outside of Canada, proof of your valid temporary resident status if your application calls for that, proof of relationship, which would be like a child's birth certificate if a child is your dependent, your CV, proof of relationship to a sponsor, proof of income, whatever you need to add to your application, your police reports. And I think I saw something that mentioned proof of work experience in Canada. So the one above that talked about proof of relevant work experience, previous relevant work experience would be your experience outside of Canada, if you have any such. And once you select a document, so I'm going to select letter of explanation. It comes up here and it tells what it is. You name your document according to what it requires. So for example, police underscore certificate 1, police underscore certificate 2, and so forth. And you click upload, you select where your document is saved, and in the using the appropriate naming convention, and you upload it and your documents will appear in the appropriate section. So you will pay your fees on another site, another web page, and you click here, pay fees, and it will take you there. You pay your fees using your credit card, and you will get a receipt. So you need to include your proof of payment that you paid the required fees, and you will upload the document accordingly. And the necessary fees, the amounts are listed, and based on the amount of persons in your family, you would pay the associated fees. You do your declaration and you click on start, do your declaration. And once you have completed your application, everything is complete. You would be able to select submit your application. So let us go into one of the applications that I completed. So this is a generic application form for Canada. This form is mandatory for all programs. The additional family information form, this is mandatory for all programs as well. And in this case, I just put in the information to indicate that I have a spouse, and I put the details there. So I selected edit so that you can have an idea of what it is that you need to do. So what is this form? And it tells you to indicate your language preference, the number of family members included in your application, and other personal details. And I believe you would see start here because I started it already. I get the option to continue. We are now on the generic application form, and I indicated my preference for correspondence. Any information from my IRCC should be in English, that my interview, if it's needed, should also be in English, and that I don't need to request an interpreter and where I plan to live in Canada, and I selected the necessary information there. And I put in my family name, and in this case, my family name is Test and my given name is Nicky. So I just filled in the information accordingly. And if I had a name, any name that, if I've ever used another name in the past or before, and I indicated yes, and I put my name to say I was the one as my surname, suggesting my name before I was married. I put in my UCI, what my sex is, my eye color. You have to do a calculation if you know your height in feet and or inches, and then you convert it to centimeters and put in the information. My date of birth, place of birth, citizenship, and things of that nature. So as I indicated, I noted that I'm married. I put in the date that I was married and my spouse, and you continue. So we're moving on to the other part of the application. As you see, wherever you are on the application, it tells you what comes next. So just a brief overview of the different parts of the application. You go into putting in your contact information, including your mailing address. If it's your residential address is the same as your mailing address, your telephone number, and the like. So just put in all the information that they ask you for and be thorough. The next part is your passport information, your national identity document, if you have one, and you don't have to put one in. So it may make it a little bit more complicated, especially in instances where, say, your home country, you have a national ID, but it doesn't have an end date, like an expiration date. If you don't have a date to put in, then you wouldn't be able to put that detail in to continue to the next part of the application. So where applicable, you may leave that information out. Your education detail, your language details, information about your dependents, and once you put in a dependent, for each person you have to answer all the necessary questions. So let's move on. I will go back because I spoke about the different information that you need to put in. So at least you'll get a chance to see what are the different things that are required. And in my view, this application is pretty easy to use. So it's not very hard at all. And I think I like it a lot. So we are now back to the other part of the application. So the additional family information, let's explore this a bit. And in essence, that is it. It's a pretty straightforward application to use. And once you read the guide and do everything that you need to do, you have nothing to really worry about, in my estimation. So the additional family information. So it asks, what is this form for? We need information about your family. So your parents, your children, your spouse, your siblings, and all that necessary jazz. So I indicated before that it's me. So this is my profile information from my profile, and I can edit it, and information about my spouse. And I suppose if you indicate, or based on how you answer the questions, you may have to include other information about yourself and about your dependent. So this section A, is about yourself, and that's my name. And then the section B is information about your children. Section C is information about your siblings. And in another part of the application, as you would have seen, the first application I opened, the spouse information was inputted there. So I guess because of that, you wouldn't need to put their information here. So I'm on the Your Profile section. Here you would see the information that I put in about myself, my mailing address, residential address information, and dependent. So spouse, partner, or dependent. You can create profiles for your spouse, partner, or dependents in this section who are applying for permanent residency. So other persons that are not being included in the application should not be included here. And as I mentioned, I had to answer if my spouse is a company, and I said yes. The relationship, your spouse, the person's name, date of birth, and you save and continue. You can add someone else if you have a child or children. You add the dependents and you get to put in their basic information. That is it for the application.
Thank you so much for making it through Nicky's Lens, and I'll see you in my next video.